and welcome to another episode of Self Improvement for Women. I am your host, Hope Long, and I am really excited for today because I have a wonderful woman who is going to be interviewing. She is a personal development coach, she's an author, she's an international speaker. And so I would like to introduce you all to Tannis Babos. Hi, Tannis.
Hi, everyone, and hi, Hope. I hope things are going well for you today. I know I'm really, really excited to be here. And yes, you're right. Um, I, as a profession, I'm a professional development coach, an author, and an international speaker. But also, I want to explain to everyone who I really am, not what I do, but who I am. And from that standpoint, I can honestly say that I'm a kind and generous person who loves to help individuals, who reaches out to others when they need help, and I'm not afraid to ask for help when I need it. And as well as I love to have fun, I love children. Um, I'm a mother of two adult children and a third one who is my daughter through marriage. I have 6 grandchildren. And I love being me. I love who I am and who I've become.
I love that too. And I can attest to your kindness and your being so genuine. When we chatted before, I absolutely love just talking to you in general. So I'm really glad that I get the opportunity to interview you today. Um, One of the things that we kind of had a little pre-chat about was your struggles and having breakthroughs, right? In your past. So if you could, you want to like dive in a little bit into how you became who you are today and what you've been through.
Hey, do you want the short version or the long version?
I want the whole story. I want the whole story.
The whole story, my goodness, that starts way back when I was a single mom, and I'm going to say that was back in, 1999, 98. Yeah, 1999, 98. I had some huge struggles. At one point, I was working 2 and 3 jobs, trying to make ends meet. I had an education, but it wasn't taking me anywhere. I still had to do the crappy jobs. And when I lost those crappy jobs that I was grateful to have just to put food on the table, I lost my car, I lost my home. I was homeless. My children had to go live with their dad. And it took me about 5 months to get back on my feet and living in a tent trailer and finding another job and saving every penny I had just so I could purchase a mobile home. So I'd have a place to bring my children back to call home. We were there not even 6 months and it burnt down. And again, I was in the same position. No home, no place to live, and off go my children back to their dads. And I had to figure it out. I had to figure it out all over again. I had insurance, but it wasn't enough. I had to pay off a mobile home I didn't own anymore. And it took another 5 months, maybe 6, before I walked into a tiny 798 square foot home that I called my own, moved my kids back. We had to go outside to think, but it was still ours, right? It was ours. And that's when I met, about 17 days after moving into that home, I met my second husband that I'm married to now. Amazing man. Yeah, he treats me the way I deserve to be treated. And we love sports together, music. We do lots of things together. And then we do lots of things on our own, which I thought was extremely important. When I got married the first time, I did everything for everyone else. When I got married the second time, I had to make sure I could fit me in there and that we had separate lives before we met. So why should that change other than we amalgamate together and still love the things that we love, do the things that we love, but also do things together. So that was a really important, how do I explain this? It was a really important um, thing that had to be in place before I married my second husband. That that was understood. That we kept our same passions. That we didn't take over someone else's life and expected them to align with ours and forget about the one they had.
Yeah, of course, each person needs space, right, to be authentically themselves,
Mhm.
right? That's so often something we do as women. We kind of, of course, we're mothers, we're wives, we're X, Y, and Z to other people. So it's really that's a key component of living your own truth and living your own life.
Yeah, I just didn't want to repeat history.
Right.
And I wanted to take what I knew I lost in my first marriage and make sure I didn't lose it this time around. So, life was going great. I was working full time. I decided to take a program. Like I went to school lots of times, like a few times over the years. And one of the things that I took was life coaching. I thought I could use that in all the areas of my life. I could use it for my, when I was being a director of a daycare, or when I had other staff, or when I was dealing with other people. I didn't I didn't use it as a profession. I used it as a tool to help me in what I was already doing. And so, like I said, life was going great. Um, I was running a daycare, and then I was told I had to go back to school, and it was like, oh my goodness. Way back in 1995, I had a brain injury, and I struggled with that. I struggled with learning new things. Many things I'd forgotten. Even to this day, I still have blank spots in my childhood, remembering things from way back when. I forget things now. So I was in a panic that I had to go back to school in my 40s. So I went back to school, and because I'd had a diagnosis and I'd had a brain injury and like a TBI, they allowed me to have what they call a TA, teacher's aide, who helped me while I was learning all about running a daycare. Even though I was doing it, I had to learn all the technical stuff about it because I couldn't be grandfathered in. So I did really well having an aide. She helped me. She helped me through some of the struggles I had with reading or understanding what I read, or like I can't spell if my life depended on it. Thank God for spell check. Um, I used to feel really inadequate, having this brain injury. I had a college education, but I only had a grade seven level of reading skills and understanding. And I thought, how am I ever going to make it through? How am I ever going to be successful if I can't even do that? But I made it through, and I did really well because I persevered, and I worked 7 days a week, worked full time during the week, went to school full time at night. I was like, go, 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 go. Then I finally graduated, and I was very, very proud, very proud. I thought, wow, I have a brain injury and I could do this. And I did it. So that kind of built my confidence a little. Excuse me. So that was that part of my life. And I carried on with that. And then my mom got really sick. This was back in 2012, 2013. She needed a new kidney. And if she didn't get a kidney, she was going to die. So I decided I would leave my daycare profession and I'm going to donate this kidney. But I couldn't give the kidney right away because it took almost 2 years for all the process and all the medical stuff that they had to do with me to make sure I was healthy enough to do that. So in the meantime, I had to have a job that wasn't stressful, that I could leave at any point in time, that understood that at a moment's notice I would be gone. So I went into the oil field and I just worked every day. And then in 2015, I donated my kidney, and my mom did amazingly well. It took me about 6 months to to heal. And when I was ready to go back to work, my job wasn't available anymore. So I had no job. And I was already feeling like really low because I wasn't working. And I'm thinking, what am I going to do now? I have no job. And so when that happened, it took me about another 5 months. And I also hired a personal trainer at that point, to build up my core muscles because of the surgery and stuff. And I also wanted to build up my confidence and get back my strength and things like that. So once that was done, I found a position with a company that aligned with my values. And I worked with individuals with barriers to employment. And I was a job coach and an employment specialist. So for 2 years, I did that. And well, actually for a year and a half, I did that. And then the tragedy started. My father, first off, my coworker that I worked with, died by suicide. And while my partner and I were sitting in the backyard waiting for him to come home, so we thought, his daughter came home and let us into the house, and that's when we found him. So we'd been waiting outside while he passed away. It was tragic. It was, I mean, I think I was in shock. I was more or less taking care of his daughter and my friend, how they were reacting to the situation and taking over the situation, you know, calling the police, calling the ambulance, all that kind of stuff. It wasn't until after that I kind of fell apart and had nightmares and so on and so forth. And it wasn't even quite a month later, my father was hit by a truck and ended up in the hospital in ICU with a lot of broken bones, and they didn't think he was going to survive. But we were quite pleased that he was transferred to the local hospital 10 days later. And we thought, okay, he's on his way to recovery. So I stayed there for 2 weeks and I came home. I wasn't home 3 days and found out my father had pneumonia. And I told my work, I said, I need to go. I have to go back. If something happens to him, I'm not going to forgive myself for not being there. So I went back and I did everything I could possibly do to try and help him. And he passed away, and the guilt was overwhelming for me. You know, I'd made promises to my dad the day he died that I was going to come back after supper and bring him the ice cream he wanted. I'd never seen my father cry. He cried that day because he was hungry and he was thirsty. And he just wanted, you know, he wanted to know when he could go home. And so I said, Dad, I'll bring you some ice cream after supper. I'll see you tonight. And I phoned the hospital, and the hospital said, well, he's sleeping right now. He could really use a good 10-hour sleep. So I took that as an indication that we didn't, you know, we shouldn't go visit him tonight. And as it turns out, he passed away that night. They called us at 11 o'clock at night. He passed away at 1:02 in the morning. And we had to turn off the machines that were helping him breathe. And the only thing I could think about was he died hungry and thirsty, and I didn't bring the ice cream I promised. I broke a promise. So that guilt sat with me. The next day after my father passed away, my uncle passed away. 6 months later, my mom passed away. I was devastated. And then my cousin 3 months later, and a friend of mine shortly after that, from cancer, whom I tried to help. And I discovered during all these losses that I was scrambling, trying to save someone. Because I couldn't save my dad, I was trying to save everybody. And because I'd lost all these people, I was also pushing people away that I loved, because in my mind, everybody I loved was dying, and I didn't want that to happen. So I had spiraled into a deep, deep, I say a black abyss. It just felt like the bottom fell out. Even to a point where I just wanted to die. I wanted, like, I didn't want to be here anymore. I thought, life wasn't worth it if I couldn't have the people I loved most.
Right.
And I knew, I knew this was not a place I could stay. I couldn't stay in that state of mind. And I knew I had to find some help or find something fast and steady, like yesterday. And I was scrolling through Facebook mindlessly because I had nothing else to do. This was after my dad had passed away. Um, and I found this article, a man in sombrero and standing beside a tractor trailer. And I thought, why am I reading this? Like, why did I even stop on this picture? And so I started reading it, and the gentleman had a really inspiring story, you know, and it wasn't just about the business he was promoting, it was about the personal growth and this self-improvement. And I thought, maybe that's what I need. Maybe I
Like a
need to
light
look,
bulb moment.
yeah, like
Yeah.
maybe I need to have something to hold on to besides all this grief.
Mhm.
And so I phoned him, and like, not something I would ever entertain in a normal circumstance, but I became an affiliate marketer, which I'd never done before. But I was so impressed with the community and the support and the personal growth that was happening, that it just made sense for me to be in that community, to help me help myself through the grief, because doing it by myself wasn't working.
Right.
So I did that for a while, and it was exciting and it was fun, and yeah, it took my mind off of things. But then the company changed their goal, their idea of what they wanted to sell. And I wanted the product I was working with. I didn't want to sell education, so I put that on the back burner. And I thought, what am I going to do now? I've got all these skills that I've learned. I've got, you know, I became a life coach. I've got an education. I've got all this personal growth and experience, things I've experienced, gone through, and found um, worked for me.
Mhm.
I want to help others. I want to help someone see what I saw, you know, and help them find their way through. And so I went on this journey of becoming a personal development coach, learning all I could, looking back on the experiences I've had, and put it all together, and just decided that this was the journey I was going to take now. And as that decision came about, and I started hiring my own coaches and stuff, the pandemic hit. And again, to me, that felt like another loss,
Right.
because I was working part-time and I lost that job. I stayed at home. I didn't see anyone. I didn't go anywhere, as none of us were allowed to anyway. But it felt like such a huge loss. I felt like I lost my own identity of who I was, what I stood for. I was just sitting in this house. Well, what am I going to do? And again, being in that position of feeling really low, my personal growth, the personal development that I have taken, has taught me not to stay there very long. And that each time I hit one of those bottoms or one of those hard times, I'm able to recognize it and find a way to bring myself back up to where I was. And so during that time, I decided I was going to write a book. I have all this time. It's on my bucket list. I'm going to write a book. And I made sure that when I did write the book and I published it, that one of my mom's poems was put in the book, because she always talked about wanting to write a book and never did. And I didn't want that regret, that I didn't write the book I wanted to write. And I'm pretty sure I haven't written the one I want to write yet. I just wrote a book, and it's a self-development book. And again, this book is through all my experiences, all the different things that I've done and experienced and gone through, how these things helped me. I hoped that when I wrote them down and put them in a book, it would help someone else. And so the book is called The Gift of Self-Love. And it's basically a series of 30 days. And each day you go through and you read what needs to be done, and you do that one thing. And you build on that every day. You're doing something for 30 days. And at the
Guided
end,
workbook.
yeah, it's a guided workbook kind of thing. But there's no place, like you use a journal or whatever to write down anything you want to write down about it. But I'm really proud that I did this, and it's published on Amazon. And I had some help in one of the groups that I belong to, and they helped me take that book and get it to number 16 out of 100 on Amazon. So I was able to, accomplish that, top 100 books and authors. And yeah, and that's what I do.
That's so
I
awesome.
take what I do because I'm as a personal development coach, I help busy people feel less stressed and more in control of their work-life balance. And what that really means, that's what people want to hear. Okay.
Right.
People want to hear that. So they say, oh yeah, I need more work-life balance. But in actual fact, what led me to that work-life balance was my ideas and thoughts of how I didn't have work-life balance. And that's why I missed out on doing the things that I love, being with the people that I loved. I was hiding when I was working all the time. That's an actual fact for anyone who is too busy and works so much, and they have the stigma attached to it, workaholic, right? Always working, always busy doing something, and pushing all the people away that, technically speaking, when you're too busy to do the things that you love and to be with the people that you love, you're diving into that work to hide from something that's in here that you either don't want to let out, or you don't want to release yet, or you're afraid to talk about or even acknowledge.
Right.
So that's how I ended up with that topic, because through my grief, through my discovery of self-love, which surprisingly enough, I found that going through that process of grief. And I think that's what I was meant to find. I believe that I was meant to understand how important self-love is, how important work-life balance is. There is a huge importance that people are ignoring. And when you dig it up, get underneath it all, you find happiness.
Yeah. Yes. I love that. And I love that, you, in a way, you are your ideal client, right? Because of all of your experiences, and like you've been able to live this experience that so many other people have gone through themselves, and they're still sitting there in the mud and they still feel stuck. And you have pulled yourself out. And so your experience, I'm sure, for one, is inspiring, but you have the tools in your own toolbox to pull yourself out of dark times. And
Mhm.
so I just love that you're able to help other people and give them the tools that you use and see if that works for them. Um, One of the things that we had talked about in our pre-chat was being a woman who is liked, known, and trusted. And I kind of wanted to touch on this just because I just love how that sounds, of course. It makes me automatically, I'm automatically attracted to that phrase. So what does that mean to you in your business, and what does that mean to you now as personally as well?
Well, excuse me. Like, know, and trust is the end all be all when it comes to being recognized or being trusted online. You need to, at least I believe, that people have to like you, know you, and trust you before they ever buy anything from you, even if you're giving it away free. And how like my coach, I hired a coach, and she taught me all about like, know, and trust. And you want your audience to know who you are. So get vulnerable with them, and tell stories, get online, get on go lives, tell stories. You also want them to know what you do. So they want to know, they want to trust that your information is correct. So they get to know you by your stories and who you are. They get to like you because they like your content and they're seeing it all the time, and they like what you have to say, or they like the personal development things you're sharing with them. But to trust you, the trust part is what you do as a business coach or a personal development coach or a network marketer. It's knowing your stuff, sharing the knowledge, giving away value. So if you can implement all that in your social media, and we've learned about, I'm not gonna talk about the 4 C's, but there's 4 C's. Okay, ask me to remember them in order. I'd have to look in my notes, but know them to be able to put them out there in content. But it's just something that we've learned over time. And there's also a sales and marketing strategy as well that I've learned, where you are using those types of content and you're rotating it, and making sure that they know what you do. So many people will put out content that is all about fluffy stuff,
Mhm.
right? And it's great. And you get lots of friends, and you'll get lots of people loving that stuff. But they have no idea what you do.
Right.
No, but they just love what you have to say. But until you put it out there, and most people are afraid to put it out there because that particular type of post or um, content doesn't get a lot of traction, but you have no idea who's seeing it. A lot of people are seeing it, but most people are very apprehensive about putting that kind of stuff out there. So most people, even on your Facebook page, when I'll go to see other people's Facebook pages. Maybe I want to see if I'd like to have them as a friend, invite them as a friend. And I know they're a business, but I have no idea what they do. There's nowhere on that, on their intro, their bio, or anything that tells me what they do. And you scroll through and you can't find it. So
Right.
it's really important that when people connect with you or want to check out your Facebook, because if you add them as a friend, they're going to go and check you out.
Mhm.
Automatic. It's automatic.
Yeah.
Who's asking them to be friends? So on my Facebook page, I have exactly what I do. I'm a personal development coach who helps busy people feel less stressed and more in control of their work-life balance. Boom, says it right there. I have a link to my Facebook page, like my group.
Right.
There's certain things to have in your profile so that people know what you do.
Right.
Because if you don't have that kind of stuff, people aren't going to know. How
Right.
are they going to come to you?
I wanted to touch on this. You used the word vulnerability, and you, first of all, you have expressed vulnerability just by sharing your story with me and with this audience. And I think it's just so beautiful, and I commend you for, your come up. And I just I want to kind of touch on this a little more. The vulnerability aspect is important in your professional life, but also your personal life. If you want to make like real connections, right? And real friendships and have true conversation with people, you're going to have to open up and be vulnerable. Do you have advice on how to have confidence while doing that? Because it can be really scary. I jump on and I say, "Hey, I'm a recovering alcoholic." And sometimes the response is, "Whoa, I don't know if I want to associate with her." But other times I get a warm welcome. and I still
Mm.
put myself out there. So what could you tell maybe people who are watching about opening up and being honest with other people and honest with themselves and being vulnerable?
Um, well, number one, you can't worry about what other people think. You have to worry about how that makes you feel. Okay. If you feel you want to share something, you go ahead and share it. The right people are going to be attracted to you. And the people who don't, or say the whoa, whoa,
Mhm.
are the ones that are not the people or your tribe or your people.
Right.
That's a given. Um, Being open and honest, I mean, no matter whether you're going through the kind of grief that I went through as a recovering alcoholic, my husband's one, um, you have your own grief that you go through. And there's no timeline on that. Don't ever let anyone tell you to get over it. You need to work through it. And if that means sharing, you're going to find the right people to share with. And the people who don't want to listen weren't your friends.
Thank you. Thank
They're
you.
not. And I, I wrote something down because I thought this was really important. I didn't want to forget to say this, but I think this is a really good, important time to put this here. We don't need to have all the answers to life's problems. All we need to know is what we want and why we want it. This is going to be the fuel that drives your vehicle to where you want to go. Okay. And so don't ever overthink it, because everything falls into place.
I love that. I love that. Yes, being driven, by your passion and fueling your fire and stuff, it's going to get you where you want to go. You just have to keep on course, right?
Never give up.
That is so awesome. Just keep pushing. Just keep swimming.
Even, even if it's a little bit every day, it brings you that much closer to where you want to go.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on and being with us today. Um, I wanted to ask you one more question before we jump off of here.
Okay.
What is something that you would want if you were to pass away tomorrow? What is something that you want to leave with the world?
Well, on my book, it says, I want to be remembered as someone who was not afraid to do what I wanted to do. And I want to add to that.
Yes.
Many times we say we can't wait for something to be over. You know how when you're a little kid, you can't wait till we get there. I can't wait till this is over so we can be there.
Mhm.
Or I can't wait for Christmas, or I can't wait for this. I can't wait for Christmas and all these other things that we can't wait for. Even as adults, we do this, right?
Mhm. I'm guilty.
Yeah, we're all guilty and we've all done that. So I believe we should never waste away a minute of our life. Um, Life is not short. We just wait. We just waste it. We waste it complaining. We waste it with grudges. We waste it with regrets and rejection. So I also believe your life is now, and there is no replacement for the moment. So we need to live our life for love and not waste a minute of it again.
That was an amazing answer. I thought I was really going to put you on the spot with that question.
I
And
made
you
sure I
just
wrote it down.
beautifully, so eloquently, just, oh my gosh, that was incredible. That was a great answer. Well, again, I want to thank you so much. For those of you that are watching, you can get with Tannis right here on the bottom. You're going to find her all of her social media links and a link to her book as well. If you find me on my Facebook page or my Instagram, you can link to Tannis through me as well. And of course, you should always feel free to reach out if you have a question, if you are struggling with something. That is what we're here for. We are building a community of women who are essentially just friends. We're building a friendship. So I want to thank all of you guys for watching. Tannis, this has been amazing.
Thank you. I want to thank you for inviting me to have me in your group. I think you're a pretty special young lady and you're going places. In my heart, I feel that. And I also want to thank Everyday Woman TV for having your show there, and so that others will be able to see us.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, you guys, we will see you next week.
Have a great night or day or wherever you are. Enjoy.